Hi kids, it's Megan from Kids Club, and we've come to the last part of the Easter story. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys about the day that Jesus, the Son of God, rose from the dead and defeated death and sin and evil and created a good, perfect plan for us to be in relationship with God. So let's get started. So you can find this story actually in all 4 books that talk about Jesus' life. But today we're going to be looking at Luke's story in chapter 24. So you can remember that in the last time that we were talking, that Jesus had died on the cross a terrible, gruesome death, and that he had been buried by a man named Joseph and some of the women, including his mom and a few other ladies named Joanna and Mary, who had come and buried him in a tomb, and they had sealed the tomb with a stone. And there were soldiers that were posted outside of the tomb to keep watch and make sure that nobody came in and tried to make it look like Jesus had raised from the dead, like he said that he would. Well, 3 days after Jesus was crucified, something quite amazing happened. The tomb opened. And some of the stories actually talk about an angel being there and opening the tomb. And Jesus got up and walked out alive. Like, do you realize how crazy that is? See, Jesus had just been killed 3 days earlier. He was dead. He was a dead body put in a tomb. And then all of a sudden, the tomb opens 3 days later. Jesus walks out alive. Well, it just so happens to be that those 3 women, his mom, Mary, one of his friends and disciples, Mary Magdalene, and another friend and disciple, Joanna, they were coming right then to come and tend to the dead body. See, in the Middle East, it was women's job to take care of the burial process for people, because dead bodies were considered unclean. And women back then were also considered to be really low in society and pretty unclean themselves. And so they were in charge of taking care of dead bodies because they thought, well, they're already kind of unclean, so they can take care of other unclean things, which is really sad. But see, God uses this story in a really, really beautiful way. See, those 3 women, they saw Jesus walk out of the tomb, and Jesus comes and he talks to them, and they can't believe it. They can't believe that Jesus is alive. And they know right then that Jesus really is who he said he was. He really is God. He really is the Messiah. He really is the one who's supposed to come and save them. And Jesus tells them to go back and tell his other disciples and his other friends and all of his followers that he's alive. So the women go and they tell all of the other disciples that Jesus is alive. Could you imagine what this would be like? Well, the thing is that when the disciples heard all of this, they didn't believe the women. They thought they're crazy. See, not only would it be kind of crazy to say that somebody who was dead is now alive, but also in this time, women weren't really trusted. And so the men thought, oh, they're not very smart. They're just crazy. They're probably overcome with their feelings and their grief and sadness. And then they said, fine, go look for yourself. you'll see that he's alive and that the tomb is empty. So then one of Jesus's really good friends that we hear about a lot in these stories, named Peter, he actually runs back to the place where Jesus was buried. And he figures out that the women were right, that in fact, the tomb was empty, that Jesus was alive, and that the women were telling the truth. Once Jesus had appeared to all of his disciples, once they all believed that he really was alive and that he had defeated death, that he was the Son of God, that he was the Messiah, he asked them to go and tell other people this really, really good news. And what's the good news? God's family can get back together. And in fact, God's family can be together for all of time. We don't have to be afraid of evil. We don't have to be afraid of death. We don't have to be afraid of Satan. We can all be together again in this beautiful, good, loving family with the God who created us, and that we get to be together forever. So Jesus returned to heaven, but he told his followers to keep on telling people for all the rest of time. And now, 2,000 something years later, here we are today, and you and me are talking about it. And we're family because we are together in this family of God together. And again, we also don't have to be afraid of evil. We don't have to be afraid of death because we're going to live forever together. We're never going to die. We're going to be in God's family, safe and sound forever. And that is a really, really, really good news. And that's the power of the Easter story. That we all get to be a family again because of Jesus' sacrifice and because he defeated death and was raised to life 3 days later. So, what I want to invite all of you to do today is that if you wanted to accept Jesus into your heart and you haven't done that yet, it's actually very, very simple. All you have to do is have a conversation with God and say, God, I know you're there, and I know that you sent your son Jesus to die for me because I'm a human who makes mistakes. I'm a human who sometimes hurts other people. I lie, sometimes I cheat. The list could go on and on. But ultimately, I know that you are good and that you love me and you made me. And Jesus died so that you and I can be in relationship together. And I want to be in relationship with you. And also I want to keep telling this good news to other people. And that's all you have to do. That's how you get to join the heavenly family. That's how we all get to be in this beautiful, beautiful kingdom that God has made for us. Okay, I love you guys so much. Happy Easter, and thank you for listening. Bye.